Luca Comics and Games 2018, siamo allo stand Manga Senpai, con noi c'è Tony Valente. Welcome to Manga Forever, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
It's not the first time for you in Lucca, so...
No, the second time.
Okay, so... just in time for this year, Manga Senpai brought the 7th volume of Radiant. Let's go to the beginning, back in the day.
Okay.
When and how is born Radiant?
Radiant is born, I think the beginning of Radiant is born when I was a kid. I find many elements in Radiant that I dreamed about when I was a kid, growing up, trying to create universes, different types of characters, things like that. So the beginning I cannot say exactly, but the first time I drew set, it was 10 years ago, I think. I was doing my first series for Delcourt edition in France, and I draw one character with horns, and he was hiding them, and then he evolved for many years, and at some point I say, okay, this manga will be about him. Okay. And it changed a lot, but the beginning of someone who tried to hide his horn, that was more than 10 years ago.
From a simple character, the universe exploded in this world.
I always try to build new characters, and I'm always finding also new systems in fantasy, magic, towns. I love fantasy, and I love to go around fantasy stuff. So at some point, when this character was alive, and this world was alive too, when I put him inside, everything builds up around him, like, oh, maybe, why is he hiding his horn in this universe? Maybe he's a sorcerer, maybe there's Inquisition after him, and everything builds up around him. And I'll do the same with a new character. I build a character on a paper, and then when I put him or her in Radiant, then things evolve around and add new things. I try to do that.
What were the main influence when you start writing and drawing Radiant? There's a lot of comparison between Radiant and the great Shonen Jump series, past and present. How do you feel about that? About
Very
this
proud. Very proud. My main influence, I think, if that wasn't for Dragon Ball, Naruto, and One Piece, if one of those three titles didn't exist, maybe I wouldn't have done Radiant. So maybe, it's those three
series.
Main series.
Okay.
Around this, there are many titles that I love, that influence me, even novels, even video games, things like that.
How do you organize your working schedule? Do you have an assistant like the great Japanese mangaka?
I have now an assistant for the past 2 books. 2 books, I think. She assists me on screen tones, but the story, the drawings, the backgrounds, everything, I done it myself. And then she make the screen tones, the gray areas on the pages. But other than that, I organize myself like this. I write a chapter. After I wrote the chapter, I draw the chapter, and then I put the ink on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it took me about 1 week or 2 weeks to do that.
Okay. So for one chapter you spend 2 weeks or global.
Maximum 2 weeks.
Maximum 2 weeks. Okay.
Minimum 2 days.
How hard is to pitch a manga series to an European publisher?
That wasn't so hard because I wasn't the first one in France. In France, there are many French manga. A lot of artists have done it many years before me, and it still existed when I first came with Radiant. So that wasn't so hard, but many of the publishers didn't want to go into manga editing. Many of the publishers. So they just said to me, no, because we don't want to do French manga. And other than that, many publishers said yes. Now it's more easy because many of the French titles have big successes in France, and then every publisher now wants to make French manga. Yeah, that changed.
Yeah, and Radiant is labeled Euro manga. What does it mean for you? And why, in your professional opinion, a lot of young pencilers, young authors want to do manga and they are attracted to this type of stories?
Yeah.
With this, you know,
the
canon,
style, a
the
kind
style.
of type of stories. For me, it's because I grew up with that on television, and also I read them after knowing that it exists in books. I read them, and I fell in love with the type of stories that I could read in manga, and also I think it's a type of relation different from a comics, European comics, because if you go into manga, you can read many pages. You are with the character for the timing is different in the stories and everything. So you're more implicated into the character's mind. So for the type of story that I want to write, for example, and many people of my generation, it's better because you can go deeper into the spirit of the characters. So maybe it's because of that.
Yeah. Yusuke Murata and Hiro Mashima are great fans of yours.
No, no, they support me. It's different. No, it is different.
They recognize you. So
it's flattering. It's very flattering. Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Flattered, of course.
Yeah, of course. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Yusuke Murata since Ice Shield. So since the first series he made. Hiro Mashima I didn't know before making Radiant, and because so many people talked to me about Fairy Tail, I had to read it, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I say many similar things because we have the same influence, I guess. He also loved Dragon Ball, he also loved video games and stuff, so many things are in common, and I recognize that. But I was so pleased. And the next week I'm gonna meet Yusuke Murata in a public meeting with him. So it's like meeting God.
How close is Radiant to its climax, to its end? Did you ever
far? It's far. Yeah.
Did you already think about a sequel or a spin-off series or something like that?
I thought about a spin-off. I really would want to make a spin-off of Radiant, but not when Radiant will stop. It's during Radiant. I would like to make that. So I don't know if it will be maybe a big chapter in bonuses in one of the books, or maybe it will be a one-shot. I don't know that yet, but I really want to make that spin-off. I have an idea of the spin-off. I have made many drawings and I took many notes. I write stuff, and I want to do that. Other than that, I don't know where is the end. And I don't want to stop for now. It's going great. People are reading it, talking about it. I have many stories to tell. I'm enjoying it every day. So
why stop?
I won't stop now. I won't stop now.
Radiant's main characters are struck by tragedy, and they carry on the physical signs of death. Why did you choose to represent them this way, with physical evidence of that tragedy?
Because I'm talking about what is to deal with the difference and many type of differences, and I don't know if you are just too small for the average person, or too different because you come from another country, or in this case different because you can have some kind of illness, or for example the hero Orange, you carry something, you carry a burden with you, and you have to deal with that. This was the point of my story, dealing with what is to be different, and the hero is fighting not only the monsters, but he's fighting to show that he's not a monster, that the monsters are the monster, but he is human, even if he's different. So I don't really like superpowers. In certain stories, yes, like in My Hero Academia, okay. But I'm not a big fan of superpowers. But having to deal with getting some new ability, but carrying a burden, I thought that this idea was interesting for me. I had a lot of things to say in that story. So I started with that. and then later I say, okay, I can speak about what is to be a migrant, for example. I can speak about so many subjects, which is this beginning that.
Because one of the core themes of Radiant is discrimination in the end. How much of it comes from your personal and everyday experience?
I'm not very different from the average French guy, so I never myself never experienced too much that. But many of my friends, yes. I used to live in an area where my father is a migrant. I have a double nationality, so I was in this case, but that doesn't appear. Yeah. But many of my friends were also coming from migrants, and but some of them it was obvious. And when we walked through the town or going in a shop and some things, sometimes we were rejected and things like that. So I had to experience what was to be different in their perspective, and it stays with me for a long time. And when I first started Radiant, I wasn't noticing that was my subject when I started the first book. At the end of the first book, when I could come back and read the book, I say, okay, I'm telling that story. It comes from things that I've experienced, and I'm talking about that. That wasn't on purpose at the beginning.
Yeah, also because when Radiant started its publication, in France, like in Italy, discrimination was not a big problem or a public problem like it was nowadays.
Yes,
with the political and social situation. So
yes, I was fearing what is happening today, and maybe that's why I made this story, because I follow the actuality, the news, and everything. And I was hoping that at some point it will stop and everything. But I was worried about that, and I recognize now that when I go back to the first and second volume, that there are many things into that come from my fear of what will happen with a political
and
background.
It became better and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's change the subject and go back to Radiant. That became an anime series. How much you were involved in the production of the anime series? Are you satisfied with the adaptation by the end?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the second part of the anime, because for the beginning they rewrite the story, and I was concerned about that when I first received the script, and I would have preferred it sticks to the original material, of course. But I understand their points. I understand why they have to make changes. But at some point, when they reach the story that begin in volume 2, Rumbletown, I forgot my own story. Rumbletown. When they begin Rumbletown, they stick to the material, and I'm happy for that. So I'm waiting, and especially because they talk about migrants without problem. So I was worried about that they could change that. So I'm waiting until the second part of the series to have a better view of what is really the series. For now, it's just most of the materials, original material. Okay. So yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm happy that it exists, of course. Yeah.
Last question is personal to you. Any suggestion for an Euro manga young author that wants to start his own story?
Make it. Yeah, make it, enjoy it, because if you want to do that, you're going to spend your life with your character, your story, so at least you got to love them. If you don't, it will be difficult, because you cannot expect a success. It's too difficult, and it's too random to have a success. I feel that I'm the luckiest guy in this industry right now. I don't think that I deserve more than many people that I know that are doing it in France. But it happened that Radiant is a success, and maybe in next year it won't be the same. Maybe someone else will have a bigger success next year, things like that. But it's totally random, and for that you say, okay, if at least I enjoy my character, I enjoy doing that, I enjoy writing them, living with them every day, at least you enjoy your work every day. And if it's failing, what happened to me for 10 years, at least you enjoy your work, and you're good with that, you're okay with that. And if it becomes a hit, a success, and if it goes to many other countries, it's just so cool. But
do it.
Yeah, do it. Have the much fun you can have with your character and your story.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you for having me.